Hi, Sarah here. Today I thought I'd show you how I like to do a stitched border on my cards using a sewing machine. And I'm going to do a mixed stitch border. Try saying that 3 times fast. So I'm going to use a combination of zigzag and straight stitches, which is really simple. And I'm going to use the stitching today to adhere some die cuts to my card base. I do this same border on just a rectangle of designer paper or whatever else I have on my background as well, but this time it's actually going to be decorative and also hold our die cuts in place. So today I'm using the triple Chevy's Confetti Cuts from Reverse Confetti, and this is one of my favourite die cuts. It makes really fun backgrounds if you cut it in a couple of different papers or colours of cardstock. So I have a few here that I've cut, and the paper I'm using today is the Renew collection from Authentique. It's an older one, but I love yellow. It's one of my favourites. So I'm going to start just building my background, and the first thing you want to keep in mind if you're going to use your sewing machine is that you really don't want the needle to be going through any adhesive. So all I'm going to do here is just put a small little dot in the centre of each of these just to keep it in place while I do the stitching. Now this piece of base cardstock that I have is about 4 by 5 inches. So I'm just going to put these pieces down. Okay, so my pieces are stuck down how I like them. And now I'm just going to grab my sewing machine. So I know it's a little bit hard to see into my machine, but I'm going to try and explain what I'm doing. Now what I want to do on this card base is do some straight stitches at the top and bottom, and I'm going to do some zigzag stitching along the sides where I'm going to tie down these triple Chevy's Confetti Cuts pieces. So I'm going to start on one of the straight edges, and so I want to make sure that I'm going to use a straight stitch to begin with. Now for this I like to use a straight stitch with the needle in the middle position instead of off to the side. I think it looks a little bit better with when we combine it with the zigzags. Apologies for the noise. I'm going to go all the way across the top, and then I'm going to go down the side a little bit, and then I'll stop and switch stitches. So when you pivot, you want to make sure you have your needle in the down position and pivot your cardstock around. And then I'm going to do some zigzag, but I want to start with a little bit of straight stitching. Okay, now you want to have your needle in the up position. It's very important. You don't want your needle to snag on anything while you change the stitch. I'm going to switch to a reasonably open zigzag stitch. This is the middle size zigzag stitch on my admittedly extremely old sewing machine. And I'm just going to zigzag all the way down this side. Until I get to the end of where the paper is, and then I think I'll do a little bit more straight stitching. Now you can switch in between the two more often than I'm doing on this card. That looks really effective. So again, what you want to do is use the manual knob. I don't know what the technical term for that is, but manually turn your needle until it's in the up and center position again. And that's why I wanted to use a straight stitch where the needle was going to be in that center position. Now I'm going to start straight stitching again, so I'm just going to manually move that needle until it's in the down position, ready to go, and then we'll do a bit of straight stitching. So I'm going to pivot again, and I'm going to straight stitch all the way down. Pivot, and I'm going to do a little bit of straight. Now I need to put it up, and I'll switch back to that zigzag. Make sure that you choose the same zigzag you did the first time, unless you want a completely different zigzag. It's up to you. Now it looks like I'm basically going to meet my stitches here without doing too much straight. So I'm just going to pivot it a little bit change back to a straight stitch, and then I might just do that manually just to kind of make it line up there. Sometimes it is a little bit tricky to line it up on the corners. To be honest, if it hasn't lined up that perfectly, you're probably the only person who's going to notice, but if it really bugs you, like it does me sometimes, cover it up with something. That's all I do. And here, yeah, I haven't, my border isn't exactly the same as it is on the other end, but actually on this piece I'll probably get away with just trimming off a little bit. So hopefully you can see that. So it looks a bit nicer down the bottom here. So you can see because we went from a middle straight stitch into the zigzag, you don't get sort of any really jagged joins from where you've chained stitches. So I'm going to finish this card and I will be back to show you. Okay, so I'm just about to finish up my card. I have mounted that background piece that we stitched on a black card base, and I'm going to use a rectangle of vellum, and this was cut with one of the squares from the Shakers and Frames Confetti Cuts. And I'm just going to put a couple of a couple of glue dots in areas that I know are going to be covered by embellishments and the sentiment. And I'm using vellum because I don't want to cover up all of that nice background that we had, but I also want my sentiment to be a little bit distinct from the background. So the sentiment that I've used is from the relatively new God is Good stamp set. I'll show you that in just a second. Here's the full stamp set, and I've used the Let Your Faith Be Bigger Than Your Fear sentiment. And that is stamped on a circle from the Circles and Scallops Confetti Cuts. They have those really nice embossed edges, which I really love. So that's that. Now I'm going to embellish with some little pieces cut from the Petals and Posies Confetti Cuts. And I've done this sort of leafy laurel shape in a gold foil cardstock. And then I've cut a flower shape from, this is the largest flower, and that's there. I'll just shape these petals a little bit before I put it down. And that's from the same designer paper that I used on the background. Put that in the middle there. I'm going to put a little twine bow over top of that. My scissors are not very sharp. And then I found this fun little sort of antique looking button in my collection. Now it had a shank on the back of it, so I just cut that off and I've put a couple of glue dots on that, so hopefully that'll be enough to hold it in place. And there is my finished card. So if you haven't broken out your sewing machine to use on your cards yet, or maybe you haven't done it in a while, maybe you'll give this technique a little try. You can find all of these stamps and confetti cuts at www.reverseconfetti.com, and you can visit me at www.thinkingstamps.com. Bye!